Welcome back to Daily Decode, the channel that breaks down the truth behind the headlines, brings you the stories they don't want you to know, and decodes the chaos of today's political arena. If you're ready to go behind the curtains of mainstream media and witness the moment everything went off the rails, stay with us. Because what happened between Rachel Maddow and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is not just shocking, it may have changed MSNBC forever. It started with an ordinary segment. Rachel Maddow, the face of liberal commentary on MSNBC, a seasoned media veteran known for her long monologues and biting critiques, was gearing up for what viewers assumed would be another night of dissecting Republican controversies and defending the progressive agenda. But this time, something shifted. Maddow, for reasons that stunned both her supporters and critics, turned her focus onto a fellow Democrat Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Yes, you heard that right. Maddow, who has for years been a defender of marginalized voices, decided to take direct aim at one of the most outspoken and unfiltered black women in Congress. And it wasn't just a casual critique. What followed was an aggressive, almost surgical takedown of Crockett's political style, her viral presence, and her growing influence on the national stage. Maddow accused Crockett of lowering the standards of political discourse, claiming her viral clapbacks and televised confrontations, while entertaining, were dangerously performative and divisive to the progressive cause. She played a montage of Crockett's most memorable moments, snapping back at Republicans during hearings, calling out racism with brutal honesty, and yes, even that now famous baby girl sit-down moment that lit up social media. The tone was icy. Maddow didn't hold back. She framed Crockett as a distraction more interested in becoming a TikTok sensation than advancing policy. But here's where it gets real. Maddow went further. She hinted, without directly saying it, that Crockett might be intentionally fueling outrage for personal brand building, calling it a page from the Marjorie Taylor Greene playbook just flipped blue. That was the moment the internet paused. It wasn't just surprising, it felt like a betrayal to many. Progressive viewers were stunned. Twitter exploded, and the hashtag #MADDOW smears Crockett was trending within hours. But Rachel wasn't prepared for what happened next. Jasmine Crockett, never one to hold back, didn't wait for a PR team to craft a response. She went live. Not on CNN, not with The View. She turned directly to her followers. On Instagram Live, in a raw, unfiltered 23-minute session, she addressed Maddow's attack head-on, and what she said sent shockwaves through every newsroom in the country. Rachel Maddow is mad because I don't fit the mold. Because I don't ask for permission to speak up. Because I don't perform respectability politics to make white liberals feel comfortable, she said. Her tone wasn't angry. It was calm, fierce, calculated. I didn't come to Congress to be quiet. I came to fight for the people who sent me. And if MSNBC thinks standing up to racism is too loud, then maybe it's the silence that's the real problem. Crockett didn't stop there. She went on to expose a pattern: how media figures, even so-called allies, often undermine the very voices they claim to support. She brought up the way black women in Congress are constantly policed for their tone, their expression, their volume. We're always too much, she said. Too angry, too loud, too real. And the moment we push back, we're called the problem. By the time she was done, over 2 million people had watched her live video. Within a day, that number would double. Celebrities began reposting it. Activists rallied behind her. Even some of Maddow's own colleagues at MSNBC reportedly expressed discomfort with the segment, privately calling it miscalculated and tone-deaf. But the real fallout came when MSNBC released a quiet, almost suspiciously vague statement. The next day they didn't mention Crockett by name. They didn't apologize. They simply said Rachel Maddow would be taking an extended hiatus to focus on upcoming projects and long-form investigative work. And just like that, one of the most powerful voices in liberal media was pulled off the air. Of course, insiders knew what was really happening. The backlash was enormous. MSNBC executives had received thousands of emails, tweets, and petitions demanding accountability. Some sponsors even expressed concern over the network's decision to platform what they saw as a targeted character attack on a rising black political leader. Sources inside the network said the decision was swift, but quiet, a face-saving maneuver to prevent a full-on PR disaster. But Rachel Maddow wasn't about to go down without spinning her own narrative. Days later, she resurfaced on a podcast, defending her commentary and claiming that critique within a movement is not the same as betrayal. But the damage had been done. Her reputation as a champion of marginalized voices had taken a hit in Jasmine Crockett. She walked away more powerful than ever. In fact, What followed might be the biggest twist in this whole saga. Crockett, bolstered by a surge of national attention and support, was approached by multiple networks, podcast platforms, and even Netflix producers, all wanting a piece of the woman who took on MSNBC and won. Rumors began circulating that she was considering her own show, a raw, no-filter political platform aimed at young voters, activists, and everyday Americans who felt left behind by both parties. And that's when the media narrative completely flipped. Suddenly, journalists began revisiting Maddow's critique not to defend it, but to dissect what it represented. Articles appeared in The Atlantic, Rolling Stone, even The Guardian, questioning whether elite liberal media had become too insulated, too controlling of who gets to speak and how. Jasmine Crockett had become a symbol not just of defiance, but of a new era of political voice, authentic, unapologetic, and most of all, unfiltered. What's even more interesting is how this moment has reshaped the media landscape. MSNBC, once considered the home for liberal commentary, is now facing increasing pressure to platform more diverse voices, real diversity, not just token representation. Meanwhile, conservative outlets tried to capitalize on the drama, but failed to understand the nuance of what was happening. This wasn't about Republican versus Democrat. It was about power, and who gets to define the narrative. Jasmine Crockett's rise speaks to something deeper. It's about a generation of leaders who aren't waiting for permission, who don't care about pleasing pundits or fitting into carefully curated molds. They are loud because the world is on fire. They are confrontational because polite politics has failed the very communities they represent. And they are viral not because they chase attention, but because authenticity in politics. It is so rare that when we see it we stop and we watch. Now, what happens to Rachel Maddow from here is still uncertain. Will she return? Possibly. Will her show regain the same influence? Doubtful. What's clear is that her critique backfired, not just because it was poorly timed, but because it misread the moment. In 2025, people are no longer interested in sanitized commentary. They want truth, raw, uncut, even if it makes people uncomfortable, maybe especially then. And that, right there, is the core of what happened between Maddow and Crockett. It wasn't just a personal feud, it was a cultural shift, a passing of the torch. From elite-controlled commentary to people-powered truth. Daily Decode will continue following this story as it evolves. Will other networks now begin to fear the backlash of silencing bold voices? Will Crockett's momentum reshape the way Congress communicates with the public? Or will the media attempt to reassert control by lifting up only those who play by their rules? One thing's certain, Jasmine Crockett has become more than a politician. She's a movement, and Rachel Maddow, whether she meant to or not, helped amplify it by trying to tear it down. In politics and media, timing is everything. And right now, Crockett's time has come. If you found this breakdown revealing, hit that like button, subscribe for more uncensored truth, and tell us in the comments, do you think Rachel Maddow crossed the line? Or was this just honest critique that spiraled out of control? This is Daily Decoded, coding the drama, the deception, and the divide. Until next time, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and never settle for the surface.